Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to introduce you to a new motorcycle. Actually, the newest motorcycle in my collection. Now you'll notice that I said new motorcycle rather than new project. This is a bike that runs and rides. Surprise, surprise, I do buy things that run. Anyway, I was able to pick up a 1974 Vespa. It's a VMA 2T, I believe. It's a 125 Primavera. Now, if you know anything about me, or you've watched the channel long enough, you'll know that I love everything two wheels. And I really love these old Vespas. Well, I was able to broker a deal on this bike behind me. It was on the other side of the state. I picked it up a few weeks ago. I've gone through it a little bit. I did have to replace a few things, and we'll walk through that in a minute here. But today, I wanted to show this thing off on the channel, kind of give you an idea of what these things are, what they were, and what people had in the 70s. To me, they're a unique motorcycle. They're a ton of fun to ride, and I have a special place in my heart for all of these Vespas and motorcycles in general. We'll do a little walk around first, and then we'll get into the details of this motorcycle. What we're looking at is a 1974 Vespa Primavera 125. Now this is what's considered a small frame Vespa. They have a large frame and a small frame. These small frames, I believe, all came with 10-inch wheels. The large frames came in a variation of 8-inch and 10-inch wheels. This bike is an older restoration. Now the mileage I believe to be maybe correct. I don't know. I can't tell. But it has 1,294 miles. I've put a few miles on this bike myself, and I believe it to be right. But again, I'm not exactly sure. As you can see, the restoration was done okay. It's not the best. I mean, it's not a show bike by any means, but it is a rider. Looking at the motorcycle, let's get into a couple of the details. Our ignition switch is actually on the headset here. So it's a 3-position ignition switch. So it's off. First click is on with no lights. Second click is on with lights. So you can actually start and run this thing with no headlights at all. Looking at the right-hand side, this is your throttle, obviously your front brake, and then you have your high beam, low beam, and horn button. On the left side, you have a switch here that switches from left to right. This bike actually was supposed to have blinkers. Someone has eliminated the blinkers. I'm not sure if I'm going to find them and put them back on. I don't have to have them, and I probably won't put them on. They kind of do look clunky, but maybe down the road I will. If you look on this side here, this is actually your clutch lever and clutch. So you'll shift this motorcycle by pulling the clutch in and rotating the left hand grip. You can see there's first, neutral, second, third, and fourth. This is a 4-speed motorcycle. Moving around to the front of the bike, you can see that the leg shield on this is very narrow. This is what a small frame would have, is a narrower, smaller body, and the leg guard is smaller. Got our front fender here, our horns directly up front. We have our Piaggio logo right in the middle here. Again, like I said, they are 10-inch wheels. They are a drum brake front and rear. Running down the details on the side of the motorcycle and working our way around it, you can see the bolt up here to remove the headstock. This is our neck lock here. This flips out of the way, and there's a keyed pin that goes into the neck to hold this thing in place. There's a better view of that switch. This is, again, our turn signal switch. I don't have turn signals, so that is not working at this time. On the floorboard here on this side going through, this is our rear brake. So I've got our foot pads here for your rider and your passenger with the center foot pad here. Moving around facing the back of the bike, we have our choke lever and we have our fuel shutoff. So this has off, turn it to the up position, it's on, turn it to the right position, and you're in reserve. The front here is unique with these. A lot of them have this little hook, and this actually swings out of the way. This is a helmet hook, so you can actually hook your helmet in place and hold it right here when you're not riding. Now on the side, this is the right-hand side of the bike, toward the bottom. This is our kickstart apparatus. So this is the kickstart lever, and this is how you start the motorcycle. This is a kick-only motorcycle. Under this side cover, you can see the engine, and the engine is in really good shape. I believe this to be 1,200 original miles just based on how the engine looks. I have had to replace the spark plug. The spark plug boot's it's in really bad shape, so I do need to replace that as well. Again, you can see that this has been repainted. What's neat is these latches flip all the way backwards, and it makes like a streamlined look, so that you'll know that this is latched now. Now, as we can see on this side, there's another side cover. We'll go ahead and open this up to reveal the electronics of the motorcycle. You'll see the battery is here, there's fuses here, all of your electronics are on this side of the bike. The battery that came in this motorcycle was dead. I did try to charge it. I could get it up to holding 1 volt, so obviously that wasn't going to work. The bike will start and run without the battery. The only issue that you will have is you'll have no electronics. So if the bike is running, it will go up and down the road just fine, but you will have no lights. The battery is needed to run the lights, and then of course it does charge through the charging system as it's running. If you see up here, and this is probably hard to see, there are 2 fuses in here. These are old-fashioned ceramic fuse. These are something that you have to order online. You can't find in your local store. They're actually quite a bit shorter than stock fuses, so I do need to order a couple of these. I did have to solder one of them to make it work again. I don't need that circuit because that circuit is the turn signal circuit. The other one is our lighting circuit. So the turn signal circuit, I believe the fuse is good because I did solder it back together. And again with that latch, we'll go ahead and flip that backwards, and now everything is locked in place. And here's the rest of the left-hand side of the bike. If you look at this little mount here, this is actually for a mirror, and then these 2 plugged section here, these are actually for the turn signals. Again, I do not have the turn signals, nor do I have a mirror at this point. I would like to get a mirror for this bike because it is nice to be able to see behind you. We'll go ahead and we'll flip the seat up, and this is where all of the magic happens. It's nice that this seat does flip forward. I am missing the seat pin. I do have one. I don't have a bolt for it. It's not the correct one though because the seat does not clamp. This actually has a latching mechanism. It doesn't latch. It's actually the seat pin that came with this bike is too low and it doesn't go all the way into the seat hole, post hole here, so it cannot latch. But here you'll see we have a stock set of tools. This is pretty unique. Again, we've got our Piaggio logo. This bike came with the spark plug wrench and it has another wrench on the other side. I believe this is for the wheel nuts. I also have a 7mm and a 8mm wrench. Not exactly sure what those are for. I did buy 2 spark plugs, so I have a spare spark plug. I do have a cool old-fashioned screwdriver. I'm not sure if this came with it or not. I believe it might have. And then I did put a small wrench in place in case I needed to remove the gas tank. And this is actually the entire gas tank here. It's held in by 3 bolts. This is your seat post pin. And then it's got the 2 bolts in the front, and this will lift the entire gas tank out. I did have to make a correction on this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. In the rest of the pouch here is my license plate. For whatever reason, the state of Michigan had no plates for motorcycles. So they gave me a full-size license plate and told me to store it on my person when I rode the bike, since it couldn't fit on the back. So I've decided to put it in here. If you remove this little pouch here, you can actually see the carburetor, and of course, there is your choke lever and your carburetor shutoff, or your fuel shutoff, excuse me. So this is an open cavity. This box here does stay in place and then of course keeps everything fairly dry. Your tools do stay on the spring there, so everything is in place. One of the things that I needed to fix on this motorcycle when I got it was the fuel shutoff is actually a 2-part system. So there's a actual shutoff valve and a pin that goes through to the shutoff lever. Well, that requires a cotter key to go through and hold it in place. Unfortunately, when I got this bike, that was mangled and broken, so you couldn't actually shut the fuel off. So the fuel continued to run and then would leak everywhere. So I have pulled the tank out. I have fixed the fuel lever there, so that's all good to go. This is a 2-stroke motorcycle, so you do have to mix oil and gas and put it into the tank. It's a 2% mixture, so it's a 50-to-1. I am running Klotz fuel in this. I don't think this leaks. It may. I know that these gaskets tend to go bad and you'll see fuel seepage around the actual gas cap here. But it's a neat little mechanism that just tightens down and holds in place. Then of course, if you had your seat pin, you would put your seat down and you'd clip it into place. Unfortunately, I do not have that. Working on getting some lower views for you guys just to see the bottom side of the motorcycle and what's going on down here. As you can see, this is our front wheel. It's a 10-inch wheel, and it is running a front drum brake. I do have a center stand. This is on both sides, so it's a U-shaped center stand, so you can actually push this down from either side, left or right. And as you can see, there's that exhaust and our rear wheel. Now the engine is actually mounted to the other side, and we'll show you that now. The engine pivot point bolt is actually right here and goes all the way through the body itself. But the engine is mounted to the right-hand side of the motorcycle, and then the wheel affixes to the engine. So that does create weight to the right-hand side of the bike, and you'll notice when you ride the bike, you kind of ride it a little left justified to correct for that weight. But as you can see, the underside here is pretty clean. One of the things that's really neat about these motorcycles is the setup of the front suspension. So there is a steering stem that goes all the way up through the body here and has a single shock or a single spring in the front, and then it has a cantilever type system, so it actually can move with the bumps. One of the things you have to pay attention to is if you stop real hard, this whole front end has to articulate forward, which could cause a hopping effect. And if you ram on the brakes, you can actually feel the bike start to almost skip. It's not always the brakes. A lot of the times it's because of a poor shock or a poor spring, and the bike is actually moving so much up and down in order to be able to stop because the brake is essentially locked up. Well, friends, what do you think about my new Vespa? This thing's pretty unique. It's a lot of fun to ride. It's a different experience for sure. And it does take a whole new level of awareness when you are riding it, because it does stop very slow. It does accelerate very slow. Obviously, you're working the brake differently with your feet and with your hands, because you do have to lift your foot so far up to be able to push the brake down. And your clutch being a rotating assembly on your left hand is kind of goofy. It's one of those things that you really have to think about what's going on and be aware of your surroundings when it's happening, because this thing does get out in traffic kind of slow, and the roads around me are fairly fast. One of the future videos I'm going to do is I'm going to ride this thing. I'm going to take you guys along, show you some of the pretty sights around here, and then talk about the bike while I'm riding it, so you kind of get a feel of, how these things run and ride. Do you have experience with old Vespas? Have you ever ridden one of these? Is this something that you have in your garage, or maybe you collect? If you do, drop in that comment section below. I'd love to hear about what you have. Of course, if you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for the next video on me riding it, you're going to want to subscribe. So hit that subscribe button. Got a ton of projects going on right now, a lot of things in the work. And obviously I'm going to ride this thing pretty soon, so you're going to want to subscribe to that. Anyway, friends, that's it for this one. We'll catch you next time.